graceful. They're powerful. They're fast. The National Wings of Freedom Tour is coming in honor of our World War II veterans. The ultimate living history experience. Explore these majestic, fully restored World War II bombers inside and out. Take an unforgettable flight in the B-17 Flying Fortress, B-24 Liberator. Even get a little stick time in the world's greatest fighter, the P-51 Mustang. For more information, visit collingsfoundation.org.
Our guest today is Dan Freitas. Dan loves aircraft. Today he's bringing us a wonderful opportunity with the Collings Foundation. He's bringing us a bit of history, he's bringing us a lot of his experience, and he's bringing us another contribution. So like Dan. Dan has contributed to and helped individuals, organizations, and his community. He is quite a guy, and many of us are fans of Dan Freitas. Please welcome our guest, Dan Freitas.
And we've had these vintage airplanes at Rohnaville Airport, and we've had them many times at Rohnaville, and we've had them most of the time at McKinleyville.
It's a huge event for people to look forward to. All of you out there that are in love with aircraft, that love flying, that love history, and that are interested in the servicemen and how they performed in this country, you really should get in on this. The Collings Foundation has a lot to offer.
Now these vintage airplanes will be coming into McKinleyville Airport on Wednesday, June the 6th. They'll be there from 2 in the afternoon to 5 in the evening. I'll be there on Thursday from, which is June the 7th, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Friday they'll be there from June 8th from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. and they'll be leaving to go to fly into Oregon. To board these airplanes there is a fee, but you can see them on the ground for free. In 1991, Bob Collins restored a B-24, and at that time it was called the All-American. And he made many stops in Southern and Northern California on his Wings of Freedom tour. He's really trying to bring visual history into play.
He's really doing an awful lot to educate the current people, the current generation, about history that they don't know much about.
And as I've said, I met Bob Collins in 1992. At that time, being president of the 8th Air Force Historical Society, I had a lot of 8th Air Force members that lived in the greater Eureka area. I wrote letters to them, and from that group of 8th Air Force volunteers that helped me out in 1992, we formed into a group called the North Coast Aviation Society. Today we have about 180 members. We've lost members over the years. As I've said, we have a monthly luncheon at the Elks Club, and they always talk on some topic of aviation. We have officers, and we publish a newsletter, and as I've said, we video our presentations that are being made. And from this, the fact that I brought these vintage airplanes in to McKinleyville in 1992, I met a lot of wonderful men and women that I would have never known had I not taken and made the effort to bring these vintage airplanes to Northern California. As I've said, I've met a lot of wonderful men and women that I would have never known. Many of them are my cherished friends today.
There are many people who have met you and feel like you've enriched their lives tremendously through what you've brought it through aviation and many other things that you have given to the community. But this particular interest has been a very big one. It's obvious that you love it.
Yes, as I said, I've been doing it for a long time. There is a criteria that the Collins Foundation requires. You have to provide 7 rooms for 2 nights for 2 crew members. You have to provide a van for the crew. You have to get out publicity. That means getting posters out to all the businesses within about a 10-mile radius of McKinneyville Airport. They give us media packets in which we take the media packets, and they're very well done, to the radio stations, to the TV stations, to the newspapers, in exchange for publicity. We offer rides to members of the media. We fly them from McKinneyville Airport to Napa, where the vintage airplanes will be flying out from, and in exchange for publicity. So this is how we advertise the event. Collins Foundation, when they get here, will be making low-level passes over the area. They'll be doing barnstorming as the old aviators used to do many years ago. This also creates interest. They will be at the airport approximately at 2 p.m. on Wednesday, June the 6th.
Introducing your sons to airplanes, especially when they are little, can create a desire that can bloom into something tremendously beautiful for a lifetime. Take your sons. Your daughters will love it too, but little boys really have a love for airplanes. And I've seen the pictures of them in the Collins Foundation going through and seeing what's inside of the plane and learning all about it, and it's marvelous to see the gleam in their eye. It's just beautiful.
The Collins Foundation has many interests. They first started out with vintage racing cars, Indianapolis racing cars, and they went into motorcycles, and now they're into airplanes, World War II airplanes, and they're beginning now to get into some of the airplanes that were involved in Vietnam and Korea, and so they're continuing to grow. They have a keen interest in aviation history, at least in those wars that took place. As I've said, the satisfaction that I get out of this being the event organizer is that I've met a lot of men and women that I would have never known had I not brought them in 1992.
You actually have the honor of seeing, touching, feeling, photographing, and participating in, actually handling and being inside of the vintage aircraft. And you say now maybe from Korea they're working forward from the first wars forward, bringing in more planes as they can that are authentic, right?
They also had, they have some vintage airplanes from World War I. So they are moving forward, as you said.
That's exciting. World War I, World War II, now Korea, and how many more, do you know?
Well, it'll be Korea and then Vietnam, and then I don't know if they'll be involved with some of the aircraft used in Desert Storm, but who knows? Bob Collins is a very creative man. He founded his foundation back in 1979, I believe, and He has an open house once a year in Stowe, Massachusetts. That's where the foundation is located. He is the president. His son Rob flies some of the vintage airplanes from time to time. He gets individuals to sponsor the airplanes for a fee, and also for a considerable fee. You could, you know, sit in the right-hand seat of a B-17 or B-24. That can be arranged through Bob Collins.
Sit in the co-pilot seat.
Co-pilot seat, yeah.
That's an honor.
Mm-hmm.
It's an honor to even get to ride in one of those beautiful planes. How many people get to do that? Not very many.
Well, we'll have some flights when the vintage airplanes are at McKinneyville. I'm sure people will pay a fee to ride the P-51 and pay fees to ride either the B-17 or the B-24. Right now I have a gentleman up in Willow Creek that's trying to arrange for flights in both the B-17 and the B-24 for veterans, the World War II veterans that were on honor flight and went back to view the World War II memorial in Washington, D.C.
There were quite a few of them.
There were quite a few that went.
Will there be quite a few that get to ride in these old planes?
It depends how well the gentleman from Willow Creek does in raising money to pay the fees that are required to fly these airplanes.
Boy, I bet those vets never thought they'd be in them again. That's great. That's really great. This is a beautiful model sitting here on the table in front of us. Do you want to tell us about this model?
Yes, this is a model of a B-17 that I flew 5 missions in World War II. It was painted by Dick Doris, who is a national model airplane builder who lives in Fortuna. It has the markings of the 401st Bomb Group. It has the markings of the 615th Bombardment Squadron that I was in, and it has the name of the airplane, which is called Tagalong. It's a cute name. I have my business cards has a picture of this particular airplane, and when you press this little button, the propellers on this airplane spin around, and you can hear the pilot say she's turning, and you can hear the machine guns going off on the turret. It's one that I keep in my front room, and it brings a lot of wonderful memories of my youth. when I was, I guess, fearless, so to speak.
Do you want to share one of those fearless memories with us?
Well, yeah, I can talk about a mission that I went on December 24th.
We'd love it.
Okay.
We'd love it.
Okay, shall we go?
Yes.
One of the most memorable missions that I went on was on December 24th of 1944, Christmas Eve. The Germans had broken through can we do that again?
Sure.
Broken through at Bastogne. The Germans had broken through at Bastogne, and there was inclement weather in England at that time, and the Germans had penetrated, and they were seeking to get more favorable surrender terms. And they had penetrated from into past Bastogne, and the 8th Air Force, with this inclement weather, could not do anything to help the ground troops. And then when the weather broke, the 8th Air Force was able to put up over 2,000 bombers, 850 fighters. The 9th Air Force, which was stationed in France, was also able to put up hundreds of aircraft. That was the largest air armada ever. And I was taking, place in history with such a large armada. We were to bomb a factory, communications factory, or a communications facility in Koblenz, Germany. And of course, after we left England, we test fired our guns, and we formed into our they met up with our bomb squadron, and we formed into our bomb group, and we joined the bomber stream that was going into Germany. And I was a radio operator, and it took a lot of intense listening to pick up Morse code on a when you're riding in a noisy B-17 with the equipment bouncing around, and you're up at altitude, and at 30,000 feet, it's 65 degrees below zero. You're wearing rayon gloves with electric heated suit and electric heated gloves. As you're approaching the target, you're wearing a flak helmet and a flak vest, and you're in this noisy airplane bouncing around trying to copy Morse code, which is in code, and you'd have to write down the message and then decode it and give it to the pilot. On this particular mission, as we were approaching the target, one of my jobs was to turn on the bomb strike camera so we could take photographs of our bomb strikes. And another job was to open these boxes of chaff. It's a tin foil. It looks like the tin foil that you would put on a Christmas tree. And you drop this chaff into the chaff chute, and when the chaff hit the slipstream of the airplane, it would break apart, and this tinsel would give a false reading to the Germans' anti-aircraft guns, and would give us protection in that manner. And on this particular mission, I was opening up these boxes and tossing in the chaff into the chaff chute. I ran across a note from two English girls, and while I was reading this note from these two English girls, I forgot all about the war. So I had a few seconds reprieve when I forgot all about the war, and it indicated that if I didn't have a girlfriend or wife at home, I'd write these two girls a letter. So I was thinking about these two girls. Our interphone was working, we were having trouble with their interphone, and we were having some engine problems, and pretty soon the pilot had to feather one of the engines, and we were pulling away from our formation, and we were firing alone, and to lighten our load, the pilot had us jettison all the loose equipment in the plane, and I remember we were pounding on the ball turret. Our ball turret gunner was down in it, and when he heard us pounding on it, he came out of there real fast, and that we got a laugh that kind of broke the tension of the situation. And when we got to England, we had all of these hundreds of airplanes trying to land. We have the inclement weather that we have here on the North Coast. You know, the Arcata Airport was built in 1942 to give us experience in flying in fog. So coming back from a mission, many of the times you'd sweat out the landings more than you did the mission. So we had all of these airplanes trying to land, and I was wondering if we'd have a collision trying to land. But anyway, we finally made a landing at an English Air Force base at such they flew the Mosquito fighter planes, and we spent Christmas Eve and Christmas in an English fighter base.
I want to backtrack a little bit and have you explain to our listening audience exactly how that chaff gave the false reading, because a lot of people don't know how that works.
Well, the Germans had primitive radar synchronized to their guns, their flak guns, and this radar coming down would create a level. This level would continue to sink down as the chaff was reaching the ground, and it would give a false reading to the Germans' primitive radar that were synchronized to their guns.
So it protected you literally from being shot because they couldn't get a beat on you because they didn't know what was
a good
correct.
beat.
A good beat.
But with these engines at altitude, we would have a condensation. The four engines would be throwing out condensation, and so you'd have a stream, just like a stream from each engine coming out of these airplanes, and from that they could calculate your height.
I see.
One of the advantages we have in a B-17, it would fly higher than a B-24. B-24 could fly faster, but B-17 could fly higher, so that would help us get out of the reach of the flak. Initially, with the 8th Air Force flew into France and then into Germany. Most of the fighter losses, most of the bomber losses were through fighters, and then as the war progressed and we invaded England, a lot of the flak guns that the Germans had were put on flat cars, and they would then move them as the Allies were advancing, and so we were faced with more flak guns than initially the 8th Air Force was initially faced with fighters. So we had more losses from flak than we had from fighters. The Germans had, towards the end of the war, had developed a jet fighter. It was called the ME-262 Schwabe. The Collings Foundation is building this particular model, and they had hoped to fly it last year at some of their stops, but I think they were having problems with it. I think eventually they may have it on some of their stops in the future.
What year was it when the original was being flown?
Well, this was in when I was flying, it was in 1944. When we were actually we had some ME-262s come through our bomber formation.
So that
was on.
So that's the plane he wants to duplicate now.
That's the airplane that he wants to duplicate.
That'll be interesting.
Mm-hmm. It will be.
It'll be more fun to see it as a joyride than coming through your lines.
You can see an ME-262 at the in airspace. They have a model along with other models. I think they have a B-26. They have some pictures of B-17. I have a lot of other vintage airplanes too.
What was your favorite plane back then when you were young, flying in the Air Force?
Well, it was actually the P-38 because I lived in Oakland, and there was P-38s that were stationed out at the Oakland airport, and they used to fly overhead. So I'd see these twin-engine, twin-tail P-38s flying around. I thought I'd like to be a P-38 pilot, but that didn't work out.
So that was your favorite, but which one did you get stuck in the most?
Well, I became a radio operator, and then I was assigned to a B-17. So, and it brought me home safely. So, I think all veterans who flew, if that airplane got them home safely, that's that's their favorite airplane.
Well, that's a good thought. That's a good thought. Now, in retrospect, with all the airplanes that you've loved and watched and flown in, what's your favorite plane today?
Well, it's still the B-17.
Because it brought you home safely. That's a good reason.
Well, because I had a lot of experience in it.
Yeah, a lot of memories there.
A lot of memories. I have some. I lost two crew members. But they were flying on in a different airplane. Pilot and I flew a weather mission that day. One of our waist gunners flew with another crew that was. They were badly shot up, but they got home safely. My navigator and waist gunner were flying on an airplane that was leading the bomb group. Well, it was what they called the high squadron, and they got a direct hit at 26,500 feet, and a direct hit in the nose. And there was one survivor, and years later, when I found that there was a survivor, I called the wife of this particular survivor, and she told me that her husband was now in a nursing home, but she told me that he was the bombardier, and he was wearing his chute, and when the plane exploded, he was blown out, and since he had his chute hooked on, he was able to open his chute and became a prisoner of war of the Germans. He had said that had the navigator been wearing his chute, he could have survived.
That's an awful lot to think about. To be wearing your suit, and then to become a prisoner of war of the Germans. You don't know whether you
Our bomb group developed what we call a parachute harness strap. So I would have, it was a little short strap that you'd hook onto your chute. You'd have your chute sitting on the floor, and you'd have it hooked to your parachute harness, so that if you, in the event that you got blown up, you'd have your chute with you, and you'd hook it on, and hopefully
get it on before you went too far down.
Pull the rip cord and come floating down. So that was innovation that came about. Save lives.
It takes an awful lot of courage.
Well, when you're young, you know, you're I don't know, maybe you feel fearless. You know, something is always going to happen to the other guy, not you.
In all the close friends that you had when you were in the Air Force, just your two crewmates were lost, but did you lose other close buddies?
Not, those are the only two that I lost in World War II. I've met a lot of wonderful men and women that have since become deceased. I miss them terribly. Just knowing Dick Daniels and Dan Raymond, and Merle Stiver, and Leonard Clark, just to name a few, were guys that I got a lot of satisfaction knowing as a result of working on as being the event organizer for the Collins Foundation. As I said, I've met a lot of wonderful men and women, and that's reward enough for me.
If you could tell one thing to our listening audience that's dear to your heart, one thing you want them to know about American history, exactly
well, I think,
what
you
would
know,
that
they
be?
talk about my generation as being the great generation. You know, the country did come together after Pearl Harbor, and but I work with a lot of young people today as a golf coach for St. Bernard's, and I'm around high school kids, and faced with the same situation that we were faced in after Pearl Harbor. I have a lot of confidence in this younger generation that they will come through just as we did. I have a lot of confidence in the American youth.
So basically you have a lot of confidence in the human spirit to survive
Right,
and to do what is
absolutely.
necessary.
Yeah, they'll do what is necessary. Absolutely.
And to act on the best knowledge they have at the time.
I
for
think
their
the kids
survival.
today are a lot smarter. They have a lot of technology that we didn't have then.
Oh, it's a wonderful information age.
Right, absolutely.
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 And part of that wonderful information is the fact people can reach back and grab this information that you're bringing forth through the Collins Foundation, that people can actually understand and see the equipment that was used in World War I, World War II, Korean War, and etc.
So now, these airplanes will be here on Wednesday, June 6th, from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Thursday, June 7th, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. On Friday, June 8th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. There will be what they call some dawn and dusk patrols where people will pay a fee to go to fly in these airplanes, and so that's why they close to the public at 5 o'clock, and they don't start till 9 to take care of the people who want to fly in the morning, and those people that want to fly in the afternoon.
So
Those
this
are
is
called dawn and dusk patrols.
dawn and dusk patrols. Fun. Maybe fly out there in the sunset.
So you'll see them flying around during the course of the morning and the evening.
McKinleyville Airport, right?
McKinleyville Airport in McKinleyville, California, in the just the general service area.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to Dan Freitas, a man who has done a great deal in our community and in other communities, and now across the nation and maybe further with the Collins Foundation today. Thank you, Dan Freitas.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
After I leave you, I regret. Why didn't I do more with the time? I forget. The minutes after I leave you, I pretend. Someday this will all work out in the end. And if it's the last time I recall your face, let it be the last time that's all I can take. If I think about what it means to confess, I wouldn't want you to love me any less. But I'm afraid of not articulating what I feel. To genuinely express to you what is real. Is it real? Is it real? 'Cause if it's the last time I recall your face, then let it be the last time. That's all I can take. And if it's the last time I ever see your face, then may it really be the last time. That's all I can take. Time I ever see your face, may it really be the last time. That's all I can take. And if it's the last time I ever see your face, may it really be the last time. That's all I can say. And if it's the last time I ever see your face, may it really be the last time. That's all I can say. Let it be the last time. That's all I can say.